All right, guys, it's cold as fuck. We got like a really good Arctic blow going on, and I came out in the garage to actually steal a rocker arm off of my buddy's engine because we're trying to figure out our pushrod length and geometry on the engine. So it's Monday, and I won't get too much into it, but I decided to come out in the garage to steal a part so that I can work on my engine tonight because I'll talk about that later. So anyway, I just wanted to mention the fact that it's like -10 with the wind chill, if not -15, and I'm sure it's been colder before. I know that. But yeah, it sucks sometimes. All right, guys, to add to the light sketch from earlier in the garage, so I reamed out my guide plates today. My buddy Dave called me with some concerns about the last video and the valve train geometry and whatnot. And I actually had the guide plates at the shop and I decided to ream them out. So carbide, die grinder for the win on opening them out. By the way, drilling is impossible. You need carbides to open them up. Sweet and simple. It literally took me like 5 minutes to do all of them. And I used a 7/16 drill bit, made sure that I had a little extra space for adjustment. So I want to show you guys something real fast. Now, some of you may be wondering why I soak things in ATF. ATF is a little lighter than oil, and it's got detergents in it. Can you see the dirt in there? That's everything that's been oozing out of those rocker arms. And those rocker arms came out of a good running engine. But it just lets you know that that's why I use ATF. And they're soaking in there, and the stuff is just kind of falling out of it. You know, we soaked them in dish soap. Obviously, oil and water don't mix. So as those things kind of push themselves out in that immersion, submersion of whatever, that's what you end up with. The stuff kind of falls out, and that's literally in the shape of the rocker arm. So that's the stuff that's just oozing out of it. And this is just little tricks that I've learned over the years on how to clean used parts. So anyway, I have a 7/16 3/8 base, or 7/16 base 3/8 stem stud here from a Ford engine. Yes, I did steal from Peter to pay Paul in this situation because this is actually out of my friend's engine, but this is also for testing purposes. I'm having issues with the geometry and the pushrod length on this engine, and I'm going to figure this out because in the last video you guys saw like I could get it centered, and these valves are taller than what was in there before, so in theory we should need a taller pushrod. So but I tried that with the Harlan Sharps earlier, and they're way out. So I'm going to do a couple things, and we will go from there, and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to change the valve springs to put the checker springs on for this to go properly. But for now, I got a variation of push rods lying around that I was using and playing around with, and there's like no happy medium. And I have push rods that are like incrementally like slightly taller, slightly shorter, and there's no in between. My furnace just kicked on, so I'm sure you're fucking hearing that, and that's annoying. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna change this out. We'll go from there. All right, I know it seems like a mess, but it's not. But a couple of things to acknowledge. This is our, I believe, 1.6 Harlan Sharp rocker arm. My buddy Dave did send me a picture of a 1.7 and a 1.6. This is a 1.6 compared to a Ford 1.6. So we're going to lay them up next to each other the best I can to show you guys the length difference. It is very... No, fuck me. It's quite significant if I can get these to stand up and show you guys. But center to center, you guys can see that between the roller tip and the roller tip of the other one. It's quite a bit of a difference, and I'll show you guys in a second what it looks like. So let's grab a push rod here, and we're just gonna lay them in. where they land. Both are on the heel, top dead center. All right, so you could see that right there. I wish my camera would focus better, but the Harlan Sharp appears to be closer to center. The Ford rocker arm, not so much. Now, why this is important is because we actually need a longer push rod. I mean, if we got taller valves, we need a longer push rod. The taller I go with this, the further out it goes. And I have one cylinder, 2 different studs, and I'm going to put checker springs on these because at this point I need to use my checker. But we're going to see what the difference is and what we end up with. Now keep in mind, this is a Ford 302 rocker arm. It's supposed to be different. This is an Olds 1.6 Harlan Sharp for the Olds. And the taller I go, the further out it pushes. And no matter how short or how tall I go, I end up with a sweep. And this is kind of like the screwed up pattern that I end up with. My phone is horrible at focusing, so you guys are going to have to bear with me here. But yeah. Alright guys, so here's the verdict. This is the Harlan Sharp. That's literally how wide the sweep is. This is with the Ford 302 rocker arm. The same push rod length, I might add, as long as my checker will go. Certainly much better. And I could probably go longer and tighten that up, but my checker is actually a little short, so I have to cut one of the push rods that I have, like one of the stock ones that I can thread and make something a little bit longer. But that's where I'm going to kind of leave off today as progress, because same length push rod, this is with a Harlan Sharp. Same length push rod, this is with the Ford. So you can see it's definitely a lot tighter. Definitely within the center, it's inboard out. I'd like it to be in between a little bit more, but I know I could probably tighten it up with a longer push rod. And with a longer push rod, this one only gets worse. So, ooh, that's not COVID, I promise. So, don't know exactly what's going on there, but our trusty Ford 302 rocker arms certainly look better than the Harlan Sharps that are meant for the Oldsmobile cylinder head. So that is, you know, and I went as long as I could with the checker, and I'm going to revisit it. But I don't see this getting better because it was better with a shorter push rod. And I'll show you guys that in a minute. So I'm going to leave this alone because this is pretty good. And I'm going to go to a shorter push rod and show you guys what this looks like. So keep in mind what that looks like with the longer push rod, which is how this looks and how that looks. And this is going to get better with a shorter push rod. Alright, so I redid the Ford. That's the Ford pattern right there. Right there. That's the Harlan Sharp right there. Keep in mind, if I go any longer, it actually gets worse. That was short, and the long looked the same if you guys reference that back there. Can't stress this enough. There is a big difference in the length of the rocker arm between the Ford and the Harlan Sharp that for us I think works out good because these valves are a lot taller than stock. So I think in order to come up with a proper center point, that is what's going on here. So I actually think this is going to get better with a longer push rod, which I got this maxed out. It is significantly taller than what was in there, which was an 8.5. And I'll measure that out real fast and let you guys know exactly what that is. Alright, so this is the difference between the push rod that was in the engine and the checker. That is a lot. A lot. You know, that's I'm going to say that's almost 1/4 of an inch. I didn't even bother measuring it up because when I put them next to each other, that's what you guys get. That's pretty damn significant right there. So, the Ford rocker arm allows us a little bit more adjustability than the Harlan Sharps. Now, the only problem I will say is that we are running into lift clearance yet again. We've been in this situation before. So I have to see where we're at, because as tall as I am going, that gives us our best pattern. And I've been here before with a Ford rocker arm, so I may have to find something that is more suitable with lift clearance or clearance the rocker arm itself, which seems a little dicey in my opinion, but we'll see. I don't know what options I have just yet, but do keep in mind that yeah, this is what we got so far. So Ford rocker arm, as long as we can go, pretty damn tall push rod compared to what was in there. This well, this kind of got swiped away, but you guys can always go back. It's become redundant. Point being, the Ford rocker arm, I got these Harlan Sharps because, you know, Harlan Sharps are what's supposed to be for an Oldsmobile, and they're supposed to be right. Clearly for our application it is not. And you know, they are milled and stuff to clear the stud, but it just it doesn't, I don't think it's right for my application. I think I'm going to continue with the Ford rocker arm, but I may have to get a set of Ford rocker arms that have more lift clearance and go from there. But I'm almost afraid, because these are, you know, I would have to get the same rocker arm in a 7/16, and like, this is like the only Ford rocker arm I trust, because I've been running this style of rocker arm for a long time on many engines with great success. So you know, take that with a grain of salt. That's today's video, because I decided to finally remount the guide plates, and yes, you can't drill them out. You can definitely hit them with a die grinder. And looking back, I actually did that on the J-headed 350 that's in the car now. I don't know why I even bothered asking. I knew what I had to do. So that's what we ended up with. Share, like, subscribe. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it helps you. It may not be a Ford, but the Ford rocker arm clearly right now is in the running to win. So there's that.